How's it going, my friends? Welcome back to your podcast. This is your friend OcraN speaking. Well, the year is just starting, and it has been very eventful. I'm talking about the conflict happening in Sinaloa. Many events have occurred in the Sinaloa capital, and many of you have insisted quite a bit that I update you a little on what's happening in the city of Culiacan. And as you know, here we always try to please the audience. Although sometimes this task becomes somewhat difficult due to the different opinions we encounter. Unfortunately, the events are not pleasant at all. And what I hear from society is that they are already tired of it. In fact, I've heard many people say the comment that those who used to be in charge in the capital should just leave the state so they can live comfortably and peacefully. Well, that's what the people of Culiacan are saying. I imagine it must be very exhausting to live day to day with a knee on your neck, suffering various abuses, and even more so, tolerating hypocrisies, mockery, and denials of the corrupt Governor Ruben Rochamoya. But well, my friends, I'm bringing you an episode, and I hope you like it, and that it's truly what you want to see. But I want to clarify something first. I'm not Nostradamus, nor am I a fortune teller, although I really try to get it right in what I tell you. I say this because I know many are bothered by what is said on this channel, but as I've always told you, I've never been interested in making anyone angry or upset with me. I just like sharing the truth. And as Memeline the Eleusine said, time will prove me right. Good thing. I think time did not prove him right, and now he does not know how to calm the beehive he kicked. But well, that will be another topic. A good friend of mine, by the way, I send him a greeting and a big hug. This friend, whenever there is a crossroads or a problem where the truth has to be sought, he tells me something that Mr. Yoma used. He used it a lot. A phrase that goes, "The truth fits anywhere." A phrase that he always used when there was a problem within the organization or a conflict between two parties. Normally, one side was always right and the other was not. So, even if there was a big lie, the truth fit in a very small space, but it was still the truth, and the person who is right is always given the reason. Well, today I will talk a little about what happened on the 9th of January in the city of Culiacan. In the very early hours of the morning, a Cessna 210 plane was flying low over the streets and neighborhoods of the city. The objective of this small plane was to drop leaflets with some accusations against some YouTubers and musicians from this same city. Next, I will show you the pamphlet, because I know many of you already know what I'm talking about. But there are also a few who won't understand what I'm referring to. That's why I'm going to show you the photo of the flyers, or pamphlets, whatever you want to call them. Well, friends, here we can see the flyer or brochure, where we can see that they mention Marquitos Toys El Llorón, Kevin Castro El Chivo, Gail Castro Gail Toys, El Gordo Arce Carlos Arce, Alejandro Hurtado, José Ismael Conejo Toys. Well, I prefer not to mention the deceased out of respect for the family, so I'll skip that. They also mention women, like Maybe Castro. Out of my respect for being a woman, Victor Adrian Vitolias, Manuel Sasueta, Kiko Avalos, Panchito Arredondo Panchito Alucin? Oh no, Arredondo it says below. Johan Valentin Piyuyi Cartel. Samuel Ibarra Padrinito Toys. Fidel Castro. Oscar Antonio López Iribe Compa Camarón. Hassan Laija Peso Pluma. Paulo Aldomero. Camilo Ochoa Memelín. Oh no, Alucin. Carlos Lizárraga, El Horny. Well, here my respect for the miner, Pilotito, Roberto Tapia, compadre of you-know-who, and, well, as I say, my respect for women. They mention Ana Gastelum. Here they also mention the close collaborator drivers, money launderers, arrogant people, figureheads, bullies, show-offs, violent ones. And here, a clarification is made about why. The Sapitos cartel, you know them. Report them. These people are major financiers and very close collaborators of the Lacrisa. We're coming for each and every one of you to the general public. These people are not innocent. We kindly ask you to stay away from these YouTubers and stop supporting and watching their content as these people finance the Zapatos. No more abuses to the people. There you can see, friends, what the pamphlets or flyers say. I have heard some comments, and some of my sources in Culiacan have told me that many are upset with the faction that released these flyers, wondering why they accuse YouTubers and musicians if their profession is not crime. And as far as I can see, many people are aware and understand that the profession of these people should not have anything to do with the faction they are linked to. But the characters mentioned in the flyers didn't understand that and associated themselves with this faction, regardless of future consequences, sometimes asking for favors, sometimes doing favors, but always connected to the faction. And I'm not saying it's wrong to have friends in the OcraN. No, don't get confused, because I know we don't choose our friends' professions. But I also know that helping a friend with activities related to the OcraN, that is wrong. And that is the reason why these individuals are being sought. According to my sources, before placing each name on that flyer, an investigation was conducted one by one. So, if the flyers have already appeared, and they are there because there is clearly compelling evidence of an existing relationship that may be work-related or simply supportive between the faction and the characters in the flyer. Next, I will give you a brief explanation. What is the individual accusation of the most mentioned or well-known individuals on the list? The first individual is the very famous leader of the toys, the young Marquitos. Here, I will show you a photo of him again for those who don't know him. I won't explain much about him or tell you things that I already mentioned in his video. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and watch the full video of the MT. There we give a brief explanation of his career as an influencer and as part of the Menshri. What I am going to show you is a series of videos of how a group of unknown individuals enter the homes of this influencer. The reason for entering was to search for equipment, ammunition, and long ones. That it had been reported that the young influencer was sponsoring the faction of the Chapatos. On that occasion, it was when these individuals crashed a vehicle into the influencer's property before taking those actions. Yes, friend Marquitos was warned where they told him to stop supporting the faction opposing them. And, as we saw, he didn't listen. Here I am going to show you the video I am talking about. Well, according to my sources, at the beginning, he only participated by providing cash. But later, he started using his working network to bring those devices into the state and the capital of Sinaloa. Moving to another continent only confirms all the wrong choices this young man has made, who unfortunately took a wrong path, since he could have enjoyed his fame and money from social networks, but no. He didn't want to. Let's hope the young man decides to stop getting into trouble and manages to live a normal life like anyone else. We all deserve a second chance, and I hope he finds it and knows how to seize it. Now it's time to talk about Kevin Castro, known as the KC or the Chivo, and his wife, the influencer Ana Gastelum. I know that many people have many doubts about why they call Kevin Chivo, but here I am going to explain it to you. In Sinaloa, when a man or a woman is being cheated on by their partner, or as they say, being two-timed with another person, they are nicknamed that chivos or cornudos. In this case, Casey ended up being the chivo, and that's to show that no relationship is as perfect as it appears on social media. We all make mistakes, and it can happen to any of us if we're not careful. That's why we should take good care of our women and not introduce them to any friends, especially if they are involved in the bussiness. The important thing is always to learn to forgive and be aware that we or our partners can make mistakes, but love should always triumph. And if someone is happy after being cheated on, well, it's something that shouldn't concern us. But I don't want to get too much into that, as they don't appear for being unfaithful, but for being financial collaborators of the faction they are associated with. We will start by explaining a little about how KC and his cousin Toro manage the sushi restaurant Ranch Roll, which has served them for years to launder money from illegal activities carried out in their neighboring country, that is, the United States. These activities have helped them to go unnoticed to the tax administration service known as the SAT in Mexico, since they introduce the illegal money into the restaurant and then proceed to develop a tax strategy in which that money is entered as restaurant sales. And then the only thing they have to do is pay a tax so that money can enter the banks legally and cleanly. Broadly speaking, this is how money is laundered or cleaned, as many know it. It remains a crime even if there is no violence involved. It is still an action prohibited by any government of any country, which is why I am explaining this to you. Because on Thursday, November 28, 2024, unknown individuals entered the Sushi Ranch Roll restaurant premises at its two locations in the city of Culiacan, Sinaloa, setting fires to prevent these legal businesses from continuing to contribute money to the conflict happening in Sinaloa. Here, I am going to show you a video of this action. This was the reason why they set fire to these establishments, trying to weaken the financial structure of the Chapitos faction. In fact, there are some videos of these I would like to show you, but I cannot show them, since in that video I mentioned, some men appear bound hand and foot being recorded by other people, whom they force to read and blame themselves for being the perpetrators of these fires. Unfortunately, according to what my sources and investigations revealed to me, is that these people appearing in the video were completely innocent of the accusations made against them. The intellectual and material author of these videos is presumed to be Juan Luis Castro Morales, better known in the underworld as El Gavilan. Currently, the Gavilan is in charge of the capital for the faction of the Shapiza. Or at least that's what is said because no one has seen him in the capital, but that's another topic we are preparing, where we will make a comparison between those in charge of Culiacan from the year 2010 to the present. Returning a bit to the topic of Kevin, he has been linked with his brother Marquitos Toys in the same activities as his brother and with the same faction. Here I will show you a photo of Kevin. Here, I will show you a photo of the influencer Ana GASTELUM, who also participates in the financial activities of her brother-in-law's organization. Here I am going to show you her photo. Now, I know many will wonder, well, what does she did or do? It's simple and straightforward. Her only job was to set up a clothes store in the urban development area of Tres Rios in Culiacan, Sinaloa, which she named after herself. I'll show it to you here. Her job was easy and simple. Buy cheap clothes and sell them at high prices, or at least report that to the tax administration service. That's why there were many comments heard that the clothes she sold were very expensive, a bit pricey, but of course, her business wasn't selling clothes. Her business was laundering money from illegal activities. And in fact, I wanted to recommend their boutique. But I understand that before the conflict in Sinaloa started, they decided to close it on orders from her brother-in-law Marcos, but at the time, it had very good clothes. If you get a chance, stop by and take a look, Take a look at the elegant dresses that were sold in that store. But to see what I'm talking about, I sometimes wonder what need this young woman had to get involved with the underworld. But well, one does not choose who to fall in love with. Maybe if she hadn't accepted that invitation for tacos, things would have turned out differently for her. Here I will talk about several characters at the same time since their role was the same, so I will not speak about them individually, but collectively. They are Gordo Arce, Alejandro Hurtado, Jose Ismael, also known as Conejo Toys, Manuel Sazueta, also known as Kiko Abalos, and the Little Godfather Toys. Well, these characters are the closest circle of trust to the leader of the toys. They have often been in charge of logistics and transportation, buying and selling gastro, and the production of it. Well, the Conejo Toys wasn't in charge of those things, but he was always with them. And many people in his town don't like him because he always abuses and flaunts that he's part of the group. As you can see in this video that I'm going to show you here, Conejo Toys is on a stage in the city of Monterrey, singing a corrido, which he made famous about a character who was arrested and led to the first Culiacanazo. Here I'm going to show you the video. As you can see, he gestures with one hand that those with the hat can't do anything to him. And I start to think about what goes through his tiny brain to think that such a large and powerful organization can't get to a person who spent half of his life in rehabilitation centers. But well, I'll tell you, he's full of more air than a bag of chips, just like his boss Marquitos. And I return to his partners. The ones who do work, and the ones who did engage in illicit activities that many times. They took charge of speaking with their clients in the United States to coordinate operations on behalf of Marquitos, but I won't go much into details. We all know what type of product Marquitos and his people moved. In fact, there are recordings of calls of these individuals and their boss coordinating shipments to the United States, but you will hear this in due time. When the time comes for them to appear before a court in the United States. Gail Castro. This young man is Marquitos's brother, and along with his brother Kevin and his cousin Toro, they were responsible for what I mentioned a few moments ago about the sushi restaurant Ranch Roll. I reserved my individual opinion for this young man only because, and for a very small detail, well, this ingenious young man who is an entrepreneur has tried to register the brand and the name of his great friend Nini at the Mexican Institute of Industrial Property, known as the IMPI. The truth is, I don't know if this man knew or didn't know that this institute is public and the name of the person trying to register the brand appears. Here I am going to present the application he made in January 2024. And they can deny many things, but never the relationship with the Menshri. And I reiterate again, as Mr. Yoma says, the truth fits anywhere. And with these guys, there's no way to help them with a lie if they themselves shout to the four winds that they are part of the Menshri. Look, here I'm going to show you the document I'm talking about. Here you can see the document in which it appears cut off because that's how I found it. But here, I am going to highlight more clearly the name of Gail Castro and that they wanted to register Nini09. It seems from what I read in the document that this registration was not accepted for various reasons, and it appears to suggest an apology for the crime. By the name of the person they wanted to register for being an OcraN. But, well, that's how these friends operate. I'll quickly talk to you about Paul Baldomero, Marquito's brother-in-law, and Paul's wife named Mayube Castro. Sadly, Paul had to dance with the ugliest one. And don't get me wrong, I'm not referring to his wife. I say this with much respect. What I mean is that he ended up in a family that would face many problems because of his brother-in-law. And to stay on good terms with him, he agreed to help launder money in his car wash. And the bridge to convince Paul and to help his brother-in-law. It was his wife Maeve who convinced him that this was a great idea and that he would have the backing and support of his brother-in-law and his brother-in-law's friends. Because of this, people close to Paul's family have commented that this young man has abused his arrogance by threatening civilians for anything that bothers him, including his workers. They hate him because, being Marquitos's brother-in-law, he became very arrogant. And those are not my words. They're theirs. That's why this young man appears on the flyers and is wanted. Here, I am going to show Paul's photo. Victor Adrian Quen, alias Vitolius. Here, I am going to present him to you. Well, friends, here ends the first part of this story. Stay tuned for next week to know the second part of the story. Thanks everyone for your support and look forward to more content from your friend OcraN. Greetings.